Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon here in the Pacific Northwest. I am your host for Let's Talk About It, Jeff Morton. I've been gone for a little bit of a time because last week we were scheduled to have my guest on, Brian McKechnie, who I'll introduce here in a moment. And I got sick. I got sick. So we kind of put the show off for a week. And of course, I was traveling around Israel prior to that. So I haven't been really here for a few weeks now. I do have a couple of things that I want to go over real quick. I did set up a Substack page where I'm going to be broadcasting, well, not broadcasting, but these live shows that are all recorded will be on my Substack page with some of the articles that I write about. I hope you check it out. There, you can see scrolling across the bottom my address for the Substack page. And I'm over there. I write articles. I don't pull any punches and kind of get in your face about a few things because let's face it, folks, we got a crazy world right now. And I talk about it, and particularly if you're a believer biblically, there's certain things that we are called to watch for. And I am a watchman, and I'm seeing insanity raised up in there. And so I write about it and try to get you to pay attention. Other than that, my guests and the reason I do what I do is just to kind of give the average person an opportunity to come on and talk about what they do in order to help other people, whether that be in the biblical arena, whether that be in the home care, healthcare, whether that be in, taking care of orphanages and things of that nature, or business professionals who have something to offer. That's pretty much what the show's about today. Before I bring Brian on, I want to tell you guys, I'm 100% involved in patching. Now, I believe in the LifeWave patch. I've got testimonies, my own testimonies. Listen, I'm going to share something with you that I normally wouldn't. I have a swollen prostate. I'm 66 years old in August. And reading in this book, it said, well, what kind of patch do I need for that? So it says that I need to take this here patch right here, which is called Eon. I don't know if you can see that with the glare. And at night, just place one on the right side of my temple and I'll go to bed. You only wear the patches for 12 hours. Well, I've been doing that now consistently for just about a month. And it has had a remarkable change in what's going on with my prostate. Folks, there are times when I'd get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and I've got to go. I got to go and nothing's happening. Well, that's all changed. And that's kind of my little personal testimony I want to share with you about how the patches are working for me in one area. There's a few more that I'm not going to really get into because I don't really want all my medical information online. Having said all of that, you're going to hear me talking about the LifeWave patches. I'm going down for a conference in October. I'm going to be talking about this and helping people. And trust me, I've got other people that have testimonies about how this stuff is working. I'm no longer in the prove it mode. I'm into the business side of all of this. And I'm actually making a pretty good amount of money by introducing this patches to people who need it. So LifeWave and Jeff are going to be a conversation going forward until who knows. Anyway, having said all of that, go Bizable.com. The gentleman I'm going to introduce you to, I met him at a network function. My company used to belong to Ignite You. We just kind of ended that relationship as we move into different arenas. But anyway, I met Brian McKechnie over at Ignite You, and he was doing something else. I don't know what that was. And the next thing I know, he started his own company called Bizable. And it's an interesting thing. I've started two businesses from the ground floor up. And what he's talking about, I didn't know about. So I'm curious to see what he has to say about his company. Without further ado, let me bring in Brian McKechnie. Hello, Brian. How are you?
Hello. Thank you so much for, this is a beautiful Sunday afternoon, and I just appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today.
Well, Brian, you and I don't know each other like friends from long time ago. You are a business professional, but you're also active in the community. So why don't you share a little bit about who Brian McKechnie is and what you do, and then we'll get into the conversation about Bizable.
I don't know. I feel like I know you a lot better now that you told me all about the LifeWave stuff and what you're dealing with in the middle of the night.
Yeah, no, that's really helping me a lot. It's awesome.
That's awesome. I'm glad you. I've heard many people talk about the efficiency and effectiveness of those patches. It sounds like an amazing deal. I'd love to talk to you more about that. But today you're
Good.
about something else. And so I'm sorry. You asked me about kind of Bizable and kind of who
Well,
am I?
let's talk about your little background. Now, you mentioned you've been coaching football, and I've got a couple of pictures of your family here. You just let me know.
Yeah, yeah, of
I'm going
course.
to pop
Well,
this one up. Let's
yeah,
start
you could.
with your family.
Oh yeah, there's my why right there, right? This is my
Right.
everything. This is what why I do what I do every single day. It's my wife Jaylene. We've been together for we'll be celebrating 10 years of marriage this June here in a couple of weeks.
Wow,
And
congratulations.
yeah, thank you. And that's my oldest son Wyatt. The middle son is Wesley, and that little one hiding in the bottom that's Walker. That's Walkie Talkie.
Now,
So Wyatt, Wesley, and Walker.
I notice all three of them have glasses.
Yes, yeah, it's very interesting because, man, don't ever tell me that genetics isn't just like the weirdest deal ever. Because I I have never had any eye issues. I have 20/20 vision, never had any glasses or never have any eye problems of any kind throughout the course of my life. My wife is the same exact way. No problems with her eyes, no glasses, no nothing. However, it appears that she had a recessive gene and I had a recessive gene that we didn't know about. And basically, story short, to get too technical into it, basically, all three of our sons got it's not rare, but it's not exactly common. But anyways, they basically have a trouble building basically building the building blocks, keeping their the lens attached to their eye.
Ooh,
So what happens is that the building blocks kind of falter, and it manifests differently in each kid. So like with our oldest son, it's in his right eye. His left eye is fine. Our middle son, both eyes are affected by it, and our younger son, his left eye. Very, very weird and interesting. And it manifests itself a little bit different. But basically, what ends up happening is that they end up having to. What happens is their lens starts to slip kind of downwards, and so imagine looking out of your sunglasses halfway through halfway, pulling your glasses down more over your nose, so where you're looking halfway out of your glasses and halfway not, you know.
yeah.
And so eventually what they have to do as they get older, you have to go and you have to have a surgery where basically the doctor just takes the lens completely out, and then you spend the rest of your life correcting it with glasses. And when they get older, they'll be able to do contacts and different things like that. So um, it's it's been a very, I mean, it's not really emotional anymore because obviously we've been dealing with
Three
it
kids later, yeah.
so yeah, we've been dealing with it for so long, and now it's just kind of like a educational thing now. And you if you had conversations with them, you'd never know. You never know that they had to go through anything. They don't know any different. They see the world how they see the world, and they see the world through glasses, and they don't let it stop them.
Well, I've been wearing glasses, just kind of get to the other side of this part of our show
Sure,
today.
sure.
I've been wearing glasses since I was 7 years old.
Mm.
And believe it or not, the LifeWave patches, I've talked to several people whose eyesight has been corrected because they're wearing the patches. I know of 3 people.
No way.
This is the most, I got to tell you, this is the most amazing discovery I have ever run across. So I'm always looking for alternative things that maybe correct things, but
Yeah,
I'm not a doctor. I can't claim anything. Will
sure.
say this, that I've spoken to a person who no longer wears glasses because their eyesight was corrected. Literally. And I was like, wow, that's amazing.
That's
It hasn't
amazing.
happened to me yet, but who knows?
Right.
It
It's
happens.
early. It's early.
Well, this stuff kind of, I've been doing this since March, and
Mm,
I found that it's different with every person. But now, in addition to, this beautiful family you have here, and of course you got your challenges with that, you
Mhm.
also do something with football. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my spare time, whatever that is, right? Outside of running a business and spending time with my family and running kids to and from school and doing all the things that we need to do on a daily basis, I actually been I coach football for Puyallup High School. I grew up in Puyallup. I didn't actually go to Puyallup High School. I went to Rogers. I graduated from Rogers, so technically I'm coaching for the enemy. But it's been so long now. It's been so long now that it's not, it's really a non-issue. But so this will be my 13th season coming up here, coaching for Puyallup. It's one of those things where I still have a passion. I played football when I was growing up in the Puyallup community, from little league all the way through high school, and then eventually went to PLU and graduated from PLU and got to play for the great Frosty Westering. I don't know if you know.
No, I don't.
Yeah, so he's a Hall of Fame coach, and
Who did you say? What was his name?
his name's Frosty Westering.
The name
Frosty
sounds
Westering.
familiar.
He
I
was the coach at PLU for like 20,
Yeah,
30 years, I think,
I wouldn't know.
maybe even longer. And so I got to be on that a couple of those teams there towards the end, and got to be on his last team when he retired. So that was pretty special. And again, that just fostered a passion into bringing it into in my adult life, and I knew I wanted to stay a part of it because I ended up getting my teaching degree from university, because I thought I wanted to be a teacher and a coach. I knew I wanted to coach football and give back to the community that way, and the only coaches that I knew at the time were teachers. And so I was like, well, I guess I'm getting my teaching degree. Well, I found out pretty early on that I did not have a passion to teach kids about life through the vehicle of the classroom. However, I did have a passion of teaching kids about life through the vehicle of football. So I ended up in the mortgage business, among other things. It kind of backed into that whole industry, and I spent almost 19 years in the mortgage industry. I
Yeah,
just recently getting out, just about a year ago.
right.
And so I found a job that allowed me to do both. I could coach in my spare time, and then I could have the freedom to do that, and then I could also make a good living. And so that's what I did for a long time. But I just don't think that there's any other sport. I mean, there's lots of great things about athletics. I really am a big proponent of supporting youth athletics, because I don't think that there's any other place that kids can really pick up lifelong skills like dealing with adversity, learning to pick yourself up after something doesn't go your way, teamwork, all the different things that we love about sports, right? I just don't think that there's any other sport quite like football that offers those things, but it's like just a little bit elevated in scale, as far as, well, it's a little bit more stressful. If you mess up, you're just not messing up, and you might get hit, you might get tackled, you might, something, that the consequences are a little bit more, so there's more on the line. And so I think that kids really, 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 it's like the last bastion of where they can really, learn teamwork, learn that kids are depending on you, learn how to be a team player, learn how to work in the off season, for the greater good of the team, and not just your individual accolades, and what the team can do for you, but what you can do for the team. I just don't think that I'm not going to say, all sports are great, but there's some about football that I just think is innately, I'm very passionate about it, and I think kids learn so much through that whole process.
Well, I'm just curious now. Do you have you've been doing this for 13 years, the Puyallup School District?
I have, yep, same school, Puyallup, the whole time.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you were to single out one particular story of one particular kid, uh, what would that story be? There's reasons why I ask this question, because I name my passwords after former teachers
Oh, that's interesting.
that have had a huge impact in my life.
Sure,
So
sure.
I have several passwords that are former teachers.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering, do you have a particular story you'd share with us about one particular kid or one particular experience?
I mean, this is a pretty common one. I mean, I won't say this is a common, but I mean, one person in particular that I can think of right off the bat went to school, 2000 school at Puyallup, probably 2016 to 2018. Um, those were the football seasons that he played, and he was full of himself. He was cocky. He was arrogant. He didn't do well in school. He was kind of standoffish. Um, you know, uh, which is somebody that's young, plays at a young age is usually exhibits these traits. They got to be confident enough to be a 16-year-old and play on varsity and stuff like that. And so he was really gifted. He was very gifted. But as he grew through the program, you could start to see a change until his senior year. Again, he didn't get it all the way, but he got it enough to where he was like, okay, I really want to play in college. I got to get my stuff together. Worked with them, helped him however we could. He did the work, that he needed to do. He ended up getting a full ride to a small college here in Washington, and he played the whole time there. He played every single year there, didn't transfer, didn't do any of that stuff, got his degree, and just graduated this last summer. One of the things the coolest thing is that I got to text him, call him, like, hey, I see you got a game today, good luck. And he would always return my text, return my call. Those are the kind of things that, those relationships just don't happen. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a pretty special thing. Even, 5-6 years after he got done playing, we still keep in contact, and I could still reach out to him, say how you doing in the professional world now that you're done playing football, what's going on there. And I could still give him, he could still reach out for advice, if he needs it.
See, those are the things that last a lifetime. I have a couple of those stories myself.
Mm-hmm.
But and so now you're going to continue to do it. Is this a paid position?
I mean, I could say paid, but I mean, it's a stipend position, and I mean, we're talking about a couple $1,000s for about
not for the money, obviously.
No, yeah, exactly. It's something. It's nice. But it's nobody that's coaching high school football in the state of Washington is doing it for the money, for sure.
Right. Okay.
Now, Texas, Georgia, other places like that, you can actually make a living coaching high school football. Not so much up here in Washington.
Well, Brian, I appreciate that. Is there anything else you want to tell us about your background?
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you kind of how I got into the position that I did, with Bizable. Like I said, I was in the mortgage business for almost just shy of 20 years. I kind of backed into that whole industry. Somebody knew somebody that was looking for an assistant, and I kind of just went in. And once I got into mortgages, it is super hard to get out. There is so much you can do in the mortgage business. You can be, and I spent the first 10 years in operations, meaning there's very few people that know that. There's the sales portion of, getting a mortgage, the loan officer that the customer actually speaks with. But, once that loan officer actually has somebody that they take their application, they take their income, they submit them into the system. And now the loan officer's job is kind of done at that point. And now another group of people have to take that loan and work on it the rest of the way for the next 30 days or however long it takes to close. And so that's the operation side. So you got the sales up front, you got the operation side in the back, and they're two separate. So I spent my first 10 years in the operation side, not really selling anything to anybody. I was just working in processing and eventually into operations management, different things like that. But I figured out that the compensation was a lot greater in the sales part. So I spent the next 10 years, almost 10 years in the sales portion of it. So I got a really good broad understanding of the mortgage business and how that worked. However, towards the end, it's mortgages are really, there's a lot of ebbs and flows, and there's things that are outside of your control. So I about a year and a half ago when the rates skyrocketed. The rates were about around 4%. And in the span of like 6 months, I can't remember if it was 22 or 23, but in the span of 6 to 8 months, the interest rates just skyrocketed.
Yeah,
And so I was,
6%.
so,
I know.
yeah. And so I was in a position, it was about October of 2023. And I was thinking to myself, wow, okay, I could see our application count going down. I could see that the rates are skyrocketed here. I don't know what this is going to look like now with the election coming up. Just like there's just all these unknowns, right? You can't really put a finger on what it's going to do, right? And so I said to myself, well, I should probably not put all my eggs in one basket. I should see what else is out there. And that's kind of what led me to this whole business credit thing that I'm kind of doing now. And again, if the interest rates would have never went up, I would have never found this, and I would have never in a million years told you that I would have been a business owner of any kind. I didn't really have that entrepreneurial spirit, if you will, that people talk about. But I created my business because I really couldn't think of a better way to serve my clients the way I wanted to serve them, working for a much larger corporation.
Well, when I met you, you weren't doing mortgage.
No, I wasn't. I was in the business credit sphere, but I was working for a different, larger company.
Okay.
When I first joined Ignite You. And what happened was, and that was fine. That was my introduction to it. I was just a contract salesperson for them, but it gave me the education, and it gave me the knowledge to actually like jump into this whole arena. And what happened, I worked for them for like 6 months, but what happened was, this was the craziest thing. It was about July of last year. And I went to log in to my account. It was all online. It was all remote. I went. It was after a long weekend. I went to go log in to my account on Monday, and I couldn't log into it. And I said, "What the heck is going on?" Anyways, long story short, I found out basically the business shut its doors over the weekend. They didn't tell us. And I was devastated because nothing like that has ever happened to me. And I had just left mortgages, and my comfort zone. And I was like, oh no, what, obviously I was low man on the totem pole. I was a low, I don't know exactly what happened. I only know about rumors and stuff like that. These CEOs basically got in a fight, and one went that way and one went that way, and they torpedoed the corporation that was left. Who knows if that's actually the case? I don't know. I don't think I'll ever know.
Or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Gave you an idea.
Yeah, it gave me an idea. And now I was in a position where, oh no, okay, I got some adversity to deal with now. What am I going to do? I can go back to mortgages, can figure that out. That's my comfort zone. Or I could spend the rest of the year and I could do the research, and I could see if I could do this on my own and create a business because I think their idea was fine. They were a large corporation. I think the idea was good. And so I just needed to do the research and and see if I could do something better on a more sophisticated platform at a cheaper price, since I wasn't a large corporation. I don't have the overhead. And so I set out, I took about 6 months to do that, and we incorporated in January 2025. So that's really how Bizable came to be. It's a crazy.
We're going to talk about Bizable here in a moment, but
sure.
That's because I remember you were gone for a long period of time. We only did 1 year at Ignite You. It was kind of a look-see for us.
Sure.
I remember meeting you, and I thought, God, this is a nice guy. And then you were gone. For a couple of months, several months.
Yeah. Well,
then you came back and you're doing your own business. I was like, whoa, what happened?
Right. Well, there's two things. One was that happened with that company. And then two was that's right when football started. So football starts in August. And so once football started, and at that time I was the offensive coordinator, I was the special teams coordinator, I was doing a lot. And so I had a lot on my plate. And so I ended up not going to Ignite You there September, October, November. And then I ended up going back once I once I got my feet under me.
Yeah, you came back with a new company. I was like,
yes.
I mean, everything you said about football, picking yourself up and moving forward with young people. I mean, you walk the walk, talk the talk. That's what sounds like what you did. Now,
I'm trying.
What is Bizable? Let's get into the heart of what you do.
Sure. So at the at the very surface, it's a funding. It's a business funding, business lending, and credit building platform. So it's got two functions. One is the easy one. Is we do business funding. Why is it more advantageous to do? Come to me if you need funding for your business, any type of funding, equipment, real estate, whatever, is because if you go to your local bank and you say you need your line of credit, if you say you need a line of credit, they're going to say, okay, fill out this application, give us your income, and we'll tell you if you qualify or not. Well,
Right.
if you do qualify, but you want to make sure that you're getting the best deal, you're getting the lowest interest rate, you're getting the best deal, basically. Well, if you want to go get any type of competing quote, well, you got to go to the next bank and you got to do it all over again for them. Most businesses, if you want to get 3 to 5 quotes, you got to go to 3 to 5 different places to make sure that you're getting the best rate, the most favorable terms for your situation. And so with our platform, it's pretty easy. You fill out one application, you send your income to one person, and then we basically, like an insurance broker, go out and get the banks competing for your business. That way, you don't have to go to each of these places individually. You can sit from the comfort of your own home, fill out one application, and then let us do the hard work for you, and then get you the competing offers. And then you have a peace of mind that that you're getting the best deal, the best rate, and the best terms for whatever you were trying to do.
So
you're
basically a broker.
Yes.
For funding businesses.
For funding businesses.
That's
one aspect. That's one
Okay.
aspect of what we do. The second part is the credit building, which I spend a lot of time on. I think it's super important. But the credit building platform is, I think, super powerful. And this is about educating business owners what you were talking about and telling them about things that they just haven't heard before.
For what example? Because when I started my company, the first company I started, which was restaurants down in the Portland area, I had no idea that my business, just at the startup, had a credit rating.
Right.
Please explain that a little bit. Let's break it down.
Yeah. So what we've done at Bizable is we created a platform. Basically, we created a platform that we invite business owners into, that basically we hold their hand and take them through a series of steps, 7 steps to be in fact, that we take them from step 1 being they didn't know they had a business credit report, credit score for their business. They have a low score. They have a low recommended credit limit, and they didn't know about any of this until I told them about it 5 minutes ago. To step 7, you have a robust business credit profile built around your business, around the EIN of your business, with a large recommended credit limit and a high credit score, a business credit score. That's different from personal credit scores. That's where we're trying to get you. That way, your business can fund itself on its own merits without having to utilize the social security number, the personal credit, or the personal assets of the owner. So your business can really stay separate from you personally. Most business owners get into the whole cycle of, well, they're trying to fund their business, but they're using their social security number and all their personal credit to fund their business. Does that sound familiar?
Oh, God doesn't.
Yeah, right.
So now, okay, so I need you to kind of micro this down to me, because
sure,
if I'm a startup, I'm already in the red. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have any business credit. There's nobody going to give me a line of credit. So how does Bizable for startup? Let's talk about just startups.
Right. Well, I know about startups because I'm myself am a startup, right? So the first thing that everybody needs to understand is that building credit around your business takes time, just like our personal credit, right? Our personal credit, we don't give 18-year-olds, with no credit history, $50,000 credit cards, right?
No, they give them about 25 these days.
Yeah, they give them up. Mine was $300 to Macy's.
Okay,
That was my first credit card when I was.
I think mine was something. Mine was somewhere. We're talking way back in the 80s. I think mine was around 250 through First Independent Bank or something. But go ahead.
Right, exactly, right. And so on the business side, it's similar to where you're basically starting from scratch. You're starting as a brand new company. You're starting with brand new. Your history isn't there. So you have to have a very intentional, very specific set of steps that you need to take. The very first obstacle that you need to overcome as a business is finding accounts that actually report to the business credit bureaus. Okay. Most people don't know that there's different credit bureaus for business as opposed to personal. We're used to TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Reporting are the three main credit bureaus on the personal side. On the business side, it's Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax Business, and Experian Business. Equifax and Experian have their own business side of their bureau. Okay. And so if a business is trying to build credit, they have to build credit. They have to have their bill payments and everything, all their activity reporting to the business credit bureaus. Well, the problem is it doesn't happen automatically on the business side like it does on the personal side. On everybody in their, every single creditor, we're used to everything getting reported to our personal credit, right? Pretty much on autopilot. Right. On the business side, it's different. Not every company is required to report activity to the business credit bureaus. So the cool thing that Bizable did, we went out and found these lenders and brought them into our platform. And so basically we have a one-stop shop to where somebody can come in, get consulting, they can get live credit advising and follow a very specific set of steps, and then also get connected to these people that actually do report. So because if a company doesn't report, then your score can't go up and your recommended credit limit can't go up. And that's really what you want to happen. That's what everybody wants to happen. So you want to get to the final. You want to get to the point where you have a high credit score and a high credit limit. Well, you're not going to start there. You have to go through a very specific set of steps. And we basically lay out a roadmap for you to follow in order to take these steps. And not only that, we went out and got lenders actually and brought them into the platform to make sure that if you have credit, to make sure it is reporting. Otherwise, you can't get the credit and your score can't go up and your recommended credit limit can't go up.
So now, usually... That's a whole thing that I would have never. I don't know. How many business people know this?
So that's why I'm doing this. I had never heard about this, right? But I was in mortgages. So why would I hear about something like this? I thought I knew a lot about business. Turns out I didn't. I knew a lot about personal credit and how personal credit worked because that's what mortgages are based off of. However, I had never even heard of a business credit score or, business credit or different credit bureaus. That was crazy talk to me once I first heard it. But I asked myself, I was like, well, why have I never heard about this? Well, I'm not a business owner, so I didn't really pay it any mind. But when I started talking to business owners and I found out really quickly that they didn't know what I was talking about either. And I'm not talking about brand new business owners. I'm talking about business owners that have been in business 5-10 years running successful businesses. They didn't know what I was talking about either. If I asked them if they ever seen their business credit report, they're like, what's that?
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah. What's that? And so that's when I knew. That's when I was like, okay, I have to, there's a disconnect. There's like a disconnect between small business owners and what's available to them. And then there's a big gap of education and knowledge that Bizable can fill, and we can like bridge the gap there because it really makes me angry. It makes me angry that this kind of stuff is not talked about. Like in my estimation, like if it was, if it was a perfect world and I could do whatever, this would be mandatory reading. You would get handouts about how to do this stuff if you created a business. And from day one, this would be like mandatory reading for any business owner that is first been like, hey, just so you know, if you are just opening your business, this is a good thing to do. Make sure that you get a business phone and don't use your cell phone. Make sure you don't use your home address as your home address as your business address, because that'll come back to haunt you later in the lending process. Make sure you get an email. Make sure you get a professional email that doesn't end in gmail.com or hotmail.com. These are all things that none of this gets told to business owners when they first start out. You have to find out the hard way when you finally try to go get a loan, and then the bank denies you for funding because something as silly as you don't have a professional email, or you have your home address as your business address, or these different things that I just talked about. Again, nobody tells business owners that these things, that they shouldn't do these things, or they should do them a different way, and that it could hurt them should they try to get funding later on. And so most of the businesses that I help now, they're businesses that are established, that they're going strong, but they've reached like a certain point where they need an injection of capital to move past where they are. And then they got to go back and redo some of this stuff. Like they're like, no, nobody ever told me that. I've been using this Gmail email for forever. Nobody told me that was a bad thing. Yeah, but the bank's going to just deny your loan. They don't have to tell you why. But the bank's algorithms tell them that a business owner is 10 times more likely to default on a loan if they have a gmail.com email versus an actual professional URL and professional email. Again, we don't get told that. And that's what I'm here to do. That's what Bizable is all here to do. I'm here to like lay out a bunch of information for business owners and tell them about their options, because there's business owners walking around out there that don't know their options. They don't know that there's a better way to do things. They don't know that there's a better, more efficient way to build credit around their business. They think that they just have to personally guarantee everything, and that's just the way it is. And there's no way around it. That's not the case. But this information is like buried for some reason. I don't know why. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. But if you try to look for any of this information online, there's very little information that you can find. If you type in how do you build business credit, you're not going to find much. If you go ask your banker, they're not going to tell you much. And so Bizable is here to bridge that gap, to just let business owners know that there's a different way to do it that saves you on the liability, from a liability perspective and a fundability perspective.
Well, let me ask you a question, because I mean, this is really interesting. I've been, like I mentioned earlier, I've done 2 startups, my plumbing company. I got to a place in my plumbing business down in the Portland area where I needed to have infused cash. And I couldn't get cash.
Right.
I couldn't get a line of credit. I had to jump through some hoops in order to take the business to the next step, but no bank would touch me. If I had and this was like 3 years into running the company,
right?
Like, okay, I'm tapped out. I can only do so much. I need a line of credit.
Right.
Fortunately, I had an in-law, my mother-in-law, who was a line of credit for me, and that helped me out.
Well, there you go.
But I didn't know about this.
You're right.
If I had have known that my business operating for the first 3 years was actually creating a credit score,
right,
I would have done everything to put that in front, because it would have helped me in the long run when I needed an infusion of cash.
Right. I'll just give you a very, very simple example of how I myself am building credit on my business. Right. I am, I'm just 6 months in, just incorporated, 6 months this month. And so obviously I can't go to any bank and get any funding. They're not going to look at me. They all want to see 2+ years in business and 2 years worth of tax returns and income and stuff like that. So what you do when you're at my junction or whatever, where this is the case.
When we use your service, what?
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, what I did is I went out and got a gas card. Not as just any gas card, a gas card from through my platform that I know reports to Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax Business, and Experian Business. See, the trick is to take the expenses that you already have. You're already paying certain expenses every single month. Everybody is. And business owners are no different. They're paying a certain set of expenses every single month. They're just paying them in a certain way. The whole trick of building credit is to pay them in a way that where the activity is reporting to the business credit bureaus. Right now, I pay for gas, right? That's just part of my expenses. That's what I have. I have to drive to Ignite You, and I have to drive, different places to meet people and stuff like that. Gas is one of my business expenses. So now, instead of paying for it the way I always did, which was out of my personal bank account or out of my personal credit card, and then I just pay my credit card back. Now I take that expense and I'm moving it over here to the business now. So this activity, every time I have to go get gas, I use my Shell gas card that's in my business's name. Yes, it's personally guaranteed by me because I don't have much time because I'm under 2 years worth of being in business. But again, I can keep paying it how I used to, which is my own credit card, where I get no activity reporting in the business credit bureaus. So my score can never go up and my recommended credit limit go up. Or I can just do it this way. It's an expense I already have. I'm just paying for it in a different way. But now that activity is starting to start reporting. And so once it reports, what happens? Your score starts to go up and your recommended credit limit goes up. And then it's really rinse and repeat from there. Then I just find other expenses to unload onto my business and off of me personally. So that way my business is running on its own 2 feet here in a year or two when I really need funding. Now I'm going to have a high credit score, a high recommended credit limit to now tap into that I'm not going to have to personally guarantee.
You have a track record just
Yeah.
by buying gas.
Yes.
And paying the bill.
Yeah. Well, gas is just like an easy example.
Sure.
And because most people have that kind of, the next thing I'm going to do is take another expense that I have and put it over on that side, whether it be office supplies or, whatever, whether I, have a Uline account, something like that. I haven't done any of that yet, but that's probably the next on my list again.
So now, okay. So where did you learn this from?
I learned it from our program. Our program takes business owners through this step-by-step process with an actual credit advisor.
Let me ask you a different way.
Okay.
You went to work for a company and then they shut the doors down.
Right.
Were they doing this, and was this your inspiration?
They were doing portions of this. The idea was similar. The idea was similar, for sure.
So you grabbed,
and that's why I said when they went out of business, it wasn't because the business was bad. It was because a whole bunch of BS that was way above my pay grade, right? But that's why I said I love the idea. I love the idea and educating business owners. And if I could figure out a way to do it on a more sophisticated platform at a much cheaper price so I can help more businesses, I think that would be a good thing. And then that's what I spent 6 months working on, trying to create that. And once I figured out I could, that's when we went all in.
Bizable was born now.
Yes.
We got about 15 minutes, closing in on about 15 minutes of the show. You've been doing this for 6 months. Okay.
Yep.
It's when I first heard about all of this, I was like, wow, I wonder how many people know about this or don't know about it. I certainly wasn't one of them. So I was eager to have you on. And after listening to you on, I saw you do a show with, remind me again.
Todd Herman.
Yeah, Todd Herman.
Probably, yeah. I mean, one of my, yeah.
I listened to the broadcast and I was like, what is this? I got to have this guy on my show so he can explain this to me and I can have a record of it. Now you've been doing this 6 months. How is business?
Business is good. I mean, it's not, I haven't built my own business before, but I've talked to enough people where I was under no delusions that this was going to be like, I'm going to open the doors and all of a sudden people are just going to flooding in. Right. I was under no illusion that was going to happen. So where are we right now? We're right on schedule. Obviously I have a business plan and everything like that is all drawn up. And so I think I was pretty conservative on the business plan. So we're right on schedule, even a little bit ahead. but again, because you've been a business owner, trying to do something by yourself is very, very, very challenging. Just because you're doing it by yourself. And then there's some things that I'm learning for the first time, dealing with websites and different things like that. Even, now in the, doing these podcasting things, we talked about a few things before the podcast started and I had no idea what you were talking about. And so I'm still absorbing and learning a whole bunch of things when it comes to being a business owner. I know my business very well, but actually training myself to be a good business owner as well, that takes time. And that's what I'm working on right now as well. So everything's going good. It could always go better, but I'm trying not to be, I'm very optimistic. And I think that we're right where we need to be with the amount of time that we've been doing it.
Now, when you say we, you and your wife?
Yeah. Well, no, so we as in Bizable. I'm sorry. I just say we.
Okay. Okay. So you're basically a lone ranger right now building this up. Is that right?
But yes, but when I say we, I'm talking about, the bookkeeper that I employ. I talk about, I'm talking about the marketing team that I employ. Those are different businesses, but it's all we. You know what I mean? It's like I'm working on this
with
other
marketing. You have a marketing team?
I do. I do. Yes.
Good for you.
Yes.
A lot of people don't think about that kind of stuff. So your marketing team, are they not teaching you about websites and whatnot?
Well, no. They are. But I'm learning all of this stuff for the first time.
For your sake.
For me, I'm learning all this stuff for the first time. I had never had to, again, have my name on a website and, coding and different things like that. It's all foreign to me. Not so much anymore because I had to dive into it, but
right.
That's been the main thing. It's being a business owner is exciting, but it's scary. And then it's everything in between, right? Every single emotion that you can have in between, and I'm not too proud. I always said my main thing is I need to admit when I don't know every little thing, and that's okay. I need to be able to ask for help and go to the experts. If I need help and not be too proud to ask for help. And that I'm really trying to hang on with that.
Successful people almost always have help. Yeah. I remember a guy telling me, what's more important to you, a check with somebody's name on it or a $20 bill with somebody's face on it? I said, I'm not sure how you mean that. He said, well, the person with the face on the dollar bill, that's just their face. The person whose name is on the check, that's your income. Those are the people that are going to teach you the most about business.
Yeah.
And I've never forgotten that, because your customers and your employees, in my opinion, teach you the most about what you need to do.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I absolutely believe that. I believe, when I think about not having a company anymore, I was going through a lot of different things when I had the plumbing company. They ended up with a cancer. We ended up with a brain aneurysm. We were raising 4 kids. We had our ups and downs in the marriage. And I remember when I sold the last vehicle, I broke down and cried like a baby because it was so hard to get to where we were.
Yeah.
And then I had to say goodbye to it all because my case was a little different. They told me I was going to die because of stage 4. Well, none of that happened, thank God. But I remember how hard it was to do what we did.
Yeah.
And to accomplish what we accomplished, and the income and the wealth and all the things that went into all of that. That was it was like raising a child.
No doubt.
In one way. And so then when you had to say goodbye to the child before you were ready, it was very difficult. And I think that was the reason that I went, you know what? I don't want to go through this heartache anymore. I had 2 businesses. The first one was a nightmare. I had a partner. The second one was it was an emotional, how do I say it? and I sometimes I regret this, and I'm going to warn you about the same thing.
Okay.
I was making decisions based on the emotional state of being,
Mm-hmm.
not on the needs of the company. And I think part of me doesn't want to go through that anymore. Plus, I'm older.
Yeah.
But I think now, what if I hadn't have sold the company? Oh,
Yeah.
you
I
got to.
mean, but you would have never known. I mean, like you said, you were dealing with something that, I
I
mean,
was
God
dealing with a
forbid,
lot of things.
yeah.
There
I
were
mean,
a lot of moving parts going on,
right.
but also because I'm a biblical researcher and I study
Mm-hmm.
history of the Bible, not necessarily the religion of the Bible, I would have never tapped into what I know now. And
Right.
I jump out of bed every day enthusiastic about everything going on because I kind of see the end game of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have never really gotten to this place with what I do, talking to people, interviewing people, writing my blogs. My whole world is wrapped around people. It always has been. I think that's why I've always been in customer service. But what I've learned as a result of not having a business is far more rewarding than what I went through when I had a business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah. So
And I appreciate you, giving me some advice because, and I'm sucking it all in. I'm absorbing as much as I can from as many people as I can, because I want to make sure that I'm succeeding and I'm doing it the right way as well. For my family and for for my clients. At the end of the day, this is all about business owners and helping as many business owners and giving them this information where nobody else is really giving it to them.
well, you're coaching. That means you're serving young people. You were in the mortgage industry. You were serving homeowners,
Sure.
and now you're in Bizable, serving business owners who don't know what you bring to the table. I mean, that's a great niche. My God. Sometimes I wish I had have invented the fork because
Right.
it's in every household around the globe.
Uh,
You have something that I can. In fact, when I was looking up for your Bizable, I saw a whole lot. I never heard the word Bizable before, but
mm,
I saw a lot of Bizable out there. How did you come up with the name Bizable? Where did that come from?
market that I can't lie. It's my marketing team. I'm trying to. We picked. We were really excited about another name, but at the last minute, we found somebody had that name in a LLC and up north, like in the Seattle area, that probably wasn't even really using the name, but he had trademarked that name. But we couldn't find anything else on it. So we decided to move on from that, to that one. We came up with Bizable. Um, there was nobody in Washington that was using Bizable. There was like, uh, Bizable TV or something like that. There's some different things going on, like the UK, that use the word Bizable, but there was nothing in the state of Washington that so we went ahead and used Bizable. We just thought it was a great thing, as we started, Bizable, your credit builder and lender. Um, Very simple. Um, we just thought it really stood
It's a
out,
catchy
and
name.
yeah, we just we
Catchy
thought it
name.
we thought it really stood out, and at the same time, putting, if you see the eye has the little puzzle piece,
Yes.
um, and because that's what Visible is really doing. Our platform is really helping business owners put a puzzle together to get them from, you know no business credit score or anything like that, and it's really putting together a puzzle to get to where you want to be, which is high credit score, high credit limit, everything are based on your business's merits and not you personally. It's really putting together a puzzle.
I as I was sitting here listening to talk, as a entrepreneur and your
Mm,
enthusiasm, I mean, I'm getting to know you better doing this show than I've known you the last year
yeah.
as we've crossed paths.
Hmm.
Now we've got just about 5 minutes left.
Hmm.
We're going to put Bizable back up on the screen, the name of your company, the website.
Hmm.
Now, what would you say? I'm going to give you 5 minutes to close out the show sell your business to the person who's hearing this for the first time? What are you going to offer them?
Sure. Well, no, you're putting me on the spot here.
If I understand this correctly,
No.
this is what you do.
Yeah, 100%. And so
Okay, so
again,
I'm
so
that
I'm just gonna go for it and pretend that you don't know anything about it.
just pretend that
So,
I'm the client
yes, of course.
and I've come to you for help.
Yes, of course. Well,
If that makes it easier for you.
again, if you're coming to Bizable, you're coming to get a consultation that is two parts, really educational, and puts a game plan together on what you can do to move your business to the next level. And basically, what we're talking about is helping business owners know exactly what's available to them. Most business owners don't know that their business actually has a credit score. Yes, that credit score is different from your personal credit score. We're used to our personal credit scores falling between 350 and 850. Business credit scores, not so much. It's a different credit scoring model from 0 to 100. If I asked you what your business credit score was today, would you know what to say? Would you know it? And I'm asking you that question.
No, I'm clueless.
Well, guess what, Jeff? Actually, 9 times out of 10, when I ask that question to people, they say the exact same thing. And it doesn't matter if it's the cleaning business that's just starting out, or it's the multi-million-dollar construction company that's been in business for 10 years. They give me the same exact answer. I didn't even know I had a credit score. That's where we start, because I think it's very important that everybody knows where they're starting before they know where they actually can go. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a series of steps that you can walk through that Bizable, if you choose to, can help you show and reach a certain potential that you never actually thought that you could ever even reach, with a high credit score, a high credit limit built around your EIN of your business, so you never ever have to use a personal guarantee, your personal assets, your personal credit ever again to fund your business.
Well, Brian, how long are you going to be involved in helping me to do this? I mean, what kind of time frame are we looking at?
Sure. So I tell people it's 6 to 12 months. So that our platform, when you join our platform, it's for a year. So the platform is for 5 years, and then the live coaching is for 1 year, because it should not take more than 1 year to get you from step 1 to step 7. If we're doing everything correctly and you're doing your part correctly, we're working through this system. I tell people it's 90% done for you. It's not 100% done for you. This isn't it where you spend some money and then you get something in return, and then you automatically has good credit in 6 months without having to lift a finger. There's certain things that we can't do for you from a legal perspective on your behalf. So it's really a partnership. Again, we went out and located all the obstacles, removed as many as possible, can tell you exactly what to sidestep, what pitfalls to sidestep. But at a certain point, there are things that you're going to have to do personally, because there's things that we can't do for you on your behalf. So when I say 6 to 12 months, some people move through it in less than a year, but those are the people that are treating it as a priority. If they have to change an address, or if they have to update an email or something like that, we tell them what to do. We tell them where to go. We tell them what forms to fill out. We can do all those things for them. But at the end of the day, the business owner actually has to do that. So the business owner that actually jumps on it and gets on it the same day or the next day, that person is inherently going to move through the process at a much faster rate than somebody that says, "Oh, well, yeah, all right, I'll get to changing that, but I can't get to it for 3 weeks." That person will still get to where they need to be. It's just going to be a longer journey. Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me. I'm just, I'm sitting here thinking about the 6 months you've been doing this, and I'm going, well, how many people has he helped in a year? Right. However, you seem to have fine-tuned your objective, and you know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly where you're going, to where you could say to a customer, I'm going to be with you for 5 years. I think that's pretty impressive.
Right. It's access. It's access to the platform for 5 years, because at the end of a year, I always tell people the journey doesn't stop there. You're going to continue to grow it past 1 year. Obviously, yes, you'll be in a way better position with a high credit score and a high recommended credit limit. And now, if we did our job properly, we gave you the tools. We basically pulled the curtain from behind, pulled the curtain back. So now you saw now you know all the tricks and all the tips and all the things to look out for. And so now at the end of the year, you don't need us anymore. Our job is to graduate you out of our program so you can utilize the platform, but you don't need to pay for the coaching. I mean, yeah, that might have been more lucrative to like charge for coaching and a yearly subscription or something like that. But I didn't think that was right. I was like, let's do this for a year, give them everything that they're going to need to know. And if we do our job correctly, they're graduating off of our platform and going and doing this on a much larger scale. And they'll have the tools and they'll have the knowledge to do it without us.
Well, there you go, folks. Brian, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing all of this. I wish I had known you 20 years ago in this concept. Folks, the name of his company is called Bizable. You can go to gobizable.com and find out more information about what Brian McKechnie has developed and put together for you. I encourage you to check him out. And Brian, I want to thank you so much for coming on and spending some time talking about this. I'm going to plaster this all over my social media stuff. And hopefully, it makes a difference in the lives of somebody else like you did for me tonight. If I ever think about going back into another business, I'm certainly going to have a little bit more knowledge as a result of your conversation today. So thank you so much, folks. That's pretty much it. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Hey, you bet, man. We'll see you around, okay?
Absolutely.
All right. Take care, you guys. Have a good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us on Let's Talk About It. Bye-bye.